I just want to take a little different route with what I want to do on this first e-learning day. I thought I'd just speaking today talking about COVID-19 and want you guys to know everything about it that I want you to know about it. Sorry, I was trying to write the wrong place here. Um, I don't want you to be scared. I don't want you to be nervous. I just want to tell you the truth of everything that we know up to this point. There's a lot of research this weekend and trying to get things all in the right perspective for you guys to know. It is a pandemic right now. This is a quote from the World Health Organization Director General. Um, Things need to change before they change too dramatically. I don't know if you guys have heard, but Italy did a complete, or Paris did a complete lockdown of restaurants and cafes and grocery stores and things like that. And Italy's on complete lockdown with like 60 million people. So we're trying to avoid all of that, which is the point of what all this is for. So I just want to give you a little background of what this is. I'm going to give you a little assignment to go with this. Just know your feelings, whatever. There's no wrong answers and questions and things that you have want to be able to answer as this first day of our extended e-learning are going to have to do. Okay, so first of all, it's just a infectious disease, just basic stuff. Obviously, most of you guys know it started in Wuhan, China, in December 19, but there is some stuff that says it was here before that now. But we're just working on it, all this kind of stuff. We've actually looked at it. It's called corona because of the um, sort of crown shape of the antigens on the outside. And I'm going to give this to both ICP and to anatomy. So anatomy, we've talked a little bit about this already. So forgive me if we've talked about some repeat information. This is not the first coronavirus ever. Obviously, it's COVID-19, so it's the 19th form of it. We've had coronaviruses around for a long time, so it's not something that's brand new. It wasn't cooked up in a lab. It wasn't any of that kind of stuff. It was just a transmitted thing. They think it came from bats and things like that. But again, no real proof of that. Stories about found in the meat market was like ground zero for all these other kind of things. It's probably a pretty good likelihood. But again, we just want to make sure you know everything that I know up to this point, so we can answer any questions for you guys that we have. All right, so here's the basic synopsis of all this. Okay, the first couple times you actually get coronavirus or COVID-19 or whatever, first couple days are really, really important. You might start some upper respiratory things. You might get a fever. You might get all that kind of stuff. But even before that, when it gets into your throat, um, you can actually sort of almost help yourself out. Gargle with salt water, keep it out of you. Your body wants to get rid of it. Anatomy, we talked about the lymphatic system, about how swallowing a lot of things gets rid of stuff. And so some tests and things are out there talking about drinking liquids as much as possible, hot liquids preferably too. So if you happen to get any of this in your throat, it'll take it and put it down into your stomach as you drink stuff and swallow. It's only when you get into the lungs that's really, really going to hit. So this incubation period may take 14 days before you get up to these kind of symptoms, whatever. So you can try to help yourself and clean yourself out as much as possible. No guarantees or anything, obviously, but just the way it is. So you might get some upper respiratory things, fever, some kind of sore throat, and a really dry cough. 80% of the patients that get it just get this. That's it. Okay. After it gets down in here into the lungs, we'll talk about how this happens in a second. Labor, breathing, inflammation of the lungs, all that kind of stuff. That's severe symptoms. That's where it actually affects your breathing and things like that. And after that, it gets into the blood and it gets into, taking about organs and that kind of stuff and things like that. And so these 5%. So you're looking at about 20% of the people who, 80% may even not know they have it. They're going to think they have a small cold or flu or whatever. It's all that kind of stuff is going to happen. But by 3 weeks, you have your crucial period. Typically it lasts for 21 days. You're wondering why we're off for 4 weeks or whatever. It's a typical charge for that whole stuff. But a lot of people have recovered from this as well. So just want you to look at it and kind of get an idea about what's going on. Okay. Here's what it attacks in reality. Inside your respiratory system, you have goblet cells, which produce your mucus, the stuff that helps bring everything down. You have mucus moving all the time. And you have ciliated cells, which are the stuff that helps prevent and kick things back out. It's why you cough. It's why you do all these other kind of things. COVID-19 actually attacks both of them. It attacks the goblet cells here to help produce less mucus, which means a drier cough, which means you're not going to expel it and get rid of it. Plus, it attacks these ciliated cells with a cilia on it, and so it's hard to get this stuff out. So those are the two real things that it attacks. And anatomy class, we talked about how HIV attacks the helper cells and things like that. Well, this is attacking things that help move it out. So it's a fairly intelligent, for lack of a better term, virus, and it attacks the cells inside the respiratory system. After that, once you remove the mucus or reduce it, and you can't cough it up because nothing moving out, you might get your lungs filled with flu, with pneumonia. And so pneumonia is one of those things that, even though it's not, doesn't cause pneumonia, it's the result of the virus then leads to some other kind of pneumonia. Or they can start attacking the alveolar sacs, which which is the place down in your lungs where the actual oxygen carbon dioxide transmission is. And if it starts attacking these little cells, all right, your body can't get the oxygen that you need. So again, I just want to talk about what it actually does to you. Actually, by attacking the goblet cells and the cilia cells, it can lead to other things. Now, after that, once this is going in and COVID-19 has started taking these things out, your immune system kicks into overdrive. Okay, and again, we're not going to go into too much detail of it. With anatomy, we talked about the cytokines that are reduced from the helper cells and things like that. But your immune system kicks in and sends all of these signals, which makes a huge amount of strain on your kidneys, especially trying to filter out things and the poisons and the toxins, because now they're working overtime. And should they be? Absolutely. You have something inside you to do that. But to those who are already compromised, this is why it gets really bad. And obviously, with the lack of oxygen, your heart's going to work even harder to give you the oxygen that you need. So this is when you come to long-term sort of things. So these are the things you're going to see. You're going to see a high fever above 99 degrees. It might only be for a day and then come back. It might be 103 and come back, whatever, but you're going to feel extremely tired due to the fact not having enough oxygen. And again, that dry cough without that mucus or anything like that to prevent that kind of stuff from happening. How it can be spread, obviously people through small droplets of coughing. What I heard, that sneezing, it takes 20 seconds for the sneeze to land. All right, and so you want to get out of the way for that. So wash your hands as much as humanly possible. All right, take that stuff to heart. And then surfaces, I've heard if it can land on metal, it can live up to 12 hours. And how many of you touch metal objects and metal water fountains and set down on a metal chair or something like that? So you have it all over these surfaces as well. The thing is, you then don't want to touch yourself in the face. All right. We on average touch our face 2,000 to 3,000 times a day and don't even notice it. So we touch our eyes and our nose and all these mucus areas that allows all that stuff to then flow back down to the lungs. You don't want that. So wash your hands, try to prevent your face, try to prevent contact with other things as well. Okay. Now, again, some people might show no symptoms early on. Some people might cough and don't really feel that ill or whatever. So no one really knows whether you have these things or not. But it's the combination of all of these. If you're just tired, have a high fever that you can control with Tylenol or Advil, and have a dry cough, you're probably going to be okay. It's when this part right here, difficulty breathing, that's when you need to go get, emergency help. All right, so just kind of keep that in mind. It's why we have a mad rush on hospitals right now, because people get a little tired or get a little fever right now and they go right away. It's only this part you got to worry about, going to difficulty in breathing. Okay, so again, step one, you might have symptoms. All right, and if you do have all of them together, step two, you typically call your doctor. You might be given a home test just to see if you qualify for that. And then you have to go all that kind of stuff. And then you got to follow your doctor's instructions, quarantine yourself, do all these other kind of things as well. About 80% of the people that have recovered so far, which have been in the thousands, all right, they heal without needing special treatment. They just quarantine themselves. The body heals itself, no more virus stuff, and it's good. Okay. But here's where it gets dangerous. Okay, here's your mortality rate by age. All right, the older you are, obviously, the more compromised your immune system is, and so the more damage can be done. And so, if you're 80 plus, the odds are close to 100%. If you get this, you're going to die. Now, that's not exactly a death sentence. There was a guy in Washington who got 89, who's 89 years old and survived just fine. But you guys are down here into this area, so we're not worried about you dying. We're worried about you giving it to these other people. All right, so we're going to make sure we're okay. Some related stats: Spain is the new hotbed for these things. Reported cases in Spain, as much as 3,000 plus new patients have come in. Global death rate, 3.4%. It's probably a little high right now because so many people didn't know they even had it and recovered. Most experts think this is going to be about 2% when all is said and done. So be smart with this. Here's where it all is. Okay, it's everywhere. It's in every state now. It's all over the world. No one understand where you have these kind of stuff. You be careful where you travel if you're going for spring break. Like I canceled my spring break trip already because we just want to be safe and do the kind of stuff that we need to do. Okay, obviously there's China has the most where it started, then Italy, Spain is catching up quickly, and look at the number of deaths you have. All right, and then we'll talk about this as we get into this. Okay, and there's 118,000 cases as of last time this was printed up or whatever, and 18,000 just in Europe alone. All right, 12,000 cases in Italy is the highest number anywhere else. Why a couple of my students lost their trip to Italy. All right, And here's, your financial impact and stuff like that. It's not that big of a deal to you guys, but it is a huge amount of money. That's why our stock market just crashed to this kind of stuff. All right, just remember, antibiotics do not work. Antibiotics only work against bacteria, not against viruses. So antibiotics, you can't go to the doctor and get a prescription for penicillin or anything like that. That will not work. Your immune system has to do that. So again, wash your hands, okay, as many times as you possibly can until it gets annoying. Cover your mouth, all right, when you cough. Keep a distance away from yourself, which is why we're doing this self-isolation. Try your best not to touch your eyes, your nose, your mouth, all right? Seek medical attention only if you have that very difficult breathing or a really high fever. And follow directions of what everyone tells you to do. Stay home, stay socially isolated, do all the stuff you're supposed to do. Stay home if you don't feel well. If you need to go out, wear a mask if you have to, but it's really not going to do that stuff. Just make sure you try to touch as little as possible and wash and shower as much as you possibly can. If you have difficulty breathing or high fever, again, seek a medical advice, whatever. And if you're going to travel, my recommendation is to not. All right. And don't worry about using masks, but if you want to, I put the instructions on here as well if you need to. This is why we're out of school. Okay. If we put a strain on our healthcare system, okay, there's too many people who go to the doctor. We can't take care of these. This is what happened in Italy. They had to start putting them in hallways and marking whether they could save them or not before they were even dead. All right. We want to slow this down as much as possible to make sure that everybody can get to the doctor that wants to get. Are we worried about you dying? Not at all. Okay. We're really not. But we're worried about the 25-year-old in a car accident. We're worried about the 46-year-old who has a heart attack who then can't get into the hospital. We're worried about just the overall capacity of our healthcare system to do the things that they are supposed to do. So we have tried to take this out of the equation, try to go to this social isolation. So we stretch this out, right? So not too many get it at once. We don't want these big, huge epidemics. So that's why we're off school for a couple weeks. We just want you to make sure what's going on, okay? So that's the idea. That's what I wanted to talk about. Remember, this is the key reason. This is the reason why you're staying home. This is the reason why we're trying to take all these precautions. Stay isolated. Exercise. Do your normal stuff. Stay with your family. Take care of them. Take care of your elderly relatives. All the kind of stuff we talked about. Binge watch movies. Do all the kind of stuff that you really want to do. You always complain about wanting to be home while you're home. All right? So stay there. Do the stuff you're supposed to do. Keep this number from spiking completely up to here where we can't take care of these people anymore. I know nurses and doctors who are just absolutely panicked. All right. Not so much around here because we haven't had that many outbreaks yet, but in big cities for sure. Okay. So take care of each other, take care of the things that we're supposed to do, and be smart with how you do everything else. Okay. If you have any questions, email me.